How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO build video. Today is a brand new Warden build called Tempest, and it is riding off the back of Nature's Bounty. This is designed for the Infinite Archive. It has a crap ton of status going off. It has loads of damage over time, loads of protection, buffs, debuffs. Everything is basically default as long as you put your dots on the ground and stand in them. But in extreme situations, you can heal and tank if you need to. You can provide damage shields for your group if you're in a duo, or even if you're solo, that goes for you as well, or your companion. You've got ulti on tap, and you will devastate rooms. And if you've watched the recent Infinite Archive Lazy Sork, you may consider putting these together as a bit of a tag team. They work incredibly well and nothing lives. Of course, focused efforts is something that you really do want to get in the Infinite Archive, and this build will benefit from that, as will any other that is built for status, but you don't just need those. Other buffs and bonuses can support it as well. It's nuts. Now, we're going to go into the stats first of all. We need to make sure our food is on, obviously, and our potion. We are sitting on, currently, 30.8k max magicka, 29.4k max health, and 16k stamina. 794 mag recovery, and 1042 stam recovery. Now, you could argue, while using a frost staff, which we are, while using tanky passives, which we are, why do you need mag recovery? And why would you need stam recovery if you're using the other weapon that we're using? We'll come to that later, but they are relevant because one can actually recover while the other is being used. Again, that will make more sense later. Now, we have to maintain a couple of buffs here, otherwise they're going to keep falling off. We are sitting on 4.3, almost 4.4k weapon and spell damage that will go up in the Infinite Archive with buffs and bonuses from perhaps group members if you're not playing solo, and of course from our weapon glyph, and that can escalate quite dramatically if you get certain buffs and bonuses along the way. Resistance is sitting on 23.6 and 22.9. However, spoiler, on the back bar, we are sitting on 26.2 and 25.5, so we've got more resistances on the back. That's also done on purpose. We'll go into that more later. 64 points into max magicka to take advantage of as much damage as we can from that particular stat pool. But if you feel squishy, you can, of course, change that if you prefer. That is a choice for you. If you want to change your stats and put more into health, you will be tankier, but you will lose you'll lose damage, basically. At the moment, this is absolutely fine. Grab some health bonuses while you're in there. But if you don't grab health bonuses while you're in there, inevitably, over time, you are going to get squishier and squishier, and you're going to start taking more damage. So it's up to you which buffs and bonuses you take, and up to you where you spread these stats. The Mundstone we're using is the Thief, because we have very low crit chance. But if you want to use something else, you can, of course, use the Lady, which will give you really nice resistances, and that will kind of offset some of the harder-hitting enemies if you feel squashy. Again, that is your choice. I'd recommend the Thief all the time and just build for more defensive stuff, but it's your game. Max health, max magicka food. That will inflate our health stat and our mag stat. You don't need anything else. Tri-stat food will lessen the 2 bars that you want to take advantage of in order to boost the one you don't really need that much. So, flat food all day long. Keep it cheap. Keep it simple. So, we're going to go into the skills. There is a Warden class guide on my channel that you can take advantage of. Obviously, if you want to read more in depth into the passives, skills, etc., and what they do and don't do. But I am going to glaze over these just quickly so you know how the build is constructed. So, first of all, we are utilizing Growing Swarm. There are reasons for every single one of these skills. I'm going to go into them with loose details so it's not too long, because I know people get bored being told stuff. But this basically does bleed damage on target. And it also does bleed damage to surrounding targets. This can, if you have high status chance, obviously you can pick up focused efforts along the way if you're lucky. If you're not, then whatever. This can apply hemorrhage to any target that takes damage from this. So you attach it to one target, surrounding targets get hit, control them, hold them all still. Constant damage, minor vulnerability, it's win-win. So, this comes from the Animal Companion skill line. Third ability to unlock, morph it to this one specifically. The other one is a magical morph, and it's single target only. It doesn't apply area of effect. You want area of effect in Infinite Archive because you're going to be in a situation where there's an abundance of enemies. The more splash or area of effect damage you can do, the better. So, big bleed on target, big bleed in area of effect. You could get hemorrhage if you're lucky. Remember, hemorrhage was changed, so if you triple stack it, you get a lot of damage out of it now. So leave this on target until it's run out. If the enemy dies, put it on something else. Unstable Wall of Frost. We are using the Destruction Staff on the front bar. Yes, it's an Ice Staff. We use an Unstable Wall of Elements, which is called Unstable Wall of Frost because we have a Frost Staff. Now, this will put an Ice AoE on the ground in front of you. All enemies inside of this will take damage. But for applying it, you will give a damage shield to you and nearby allies from projectile damage. So if you're getting shot with fireballs, arrows, whatever, this will protect you against that. Any enemies that happen to be affected with a chilled status while inside of this will also be affected with minor breach, and they will be snared. And when the effect ends, it blows up, and you and surrounding allies will also get another damage shield. Bear in mind, this is when it ends. So, when that ends doesn't mean when it runs out. I mean, technically it does, but if you reapply it, you can apply the damage shield. I'm going to briefly demonstrate this here. As you can see, you start here, you've got a damage shield around you. When it ends, you get another one. So, if you let it run its full duration, you end up with 2, one after the other. If you spam it, you can stack it. They don't technically stack on top of each other, but you can maintain it, is what I really mean. Now, this is your bread and butter. This must be down all the time. Always have your enemies standing in this, and if they move, put this under them. You're technically in control with this particular build, so it's up to you where you put it, but you need to maintain this. Also, it will fire your glyph on repeat as well, unless you're doing light and heavy attacks, so you've got a lot of control here with your damage application. Grow and Swarm needs to be on a target for AoE. This needs to be on the ground also. The two together, 2 damage over time going off at the same time with 2 different status chances. Arctic Blast is Winter's Embrace. Third ability to unlock, morph it to Arctic Blast, not the other one. The other one does apply a heal over time, but that is scaled off of maximum health. This one is scaled off of your offensive stats. And for activating it, not only do you get a burst heal straight up, but you also have 20 seconds worth of damage over time in area of effect in the form of frost damage, and you have a heightened chance to apply chilled with this. So if you're applying this close to enemies while they're inside Wall of Elements, not only do you apply chilled, which is minor maim, you also apply minor breach because they're chilled inside the wall. So you've got debuffs all over. And of course, because we're using an ice staff, that chilled turns into brittle while we're holding it. So you've got brittle, chilled, maim, breach, all for standing in Wall of Elements while maintaining this. Is it chance-based? Yes. But is it likely? Also yes. It's a very high chance. Shimmering Shield is also from the same skill line. We utilize this to protect ourselves against projectile damage. Again, flame, or fireballs, arrows, etc., etc. Much like the Wall of Elements projectile shield, and they do stack. But this one will actually absorb the damage and give you ulti regen. So if you do absorb a projectile, you gain 2 ultimate instantly, and you gain major heroism for 6 seconds, which gives you 3 ulti every 1.5 seconds. So you will actually generate 12 ultimate over that short period of time, plus the 2 from each projectile. So technically speaking, you could get 18 out of this if you absorbed a full 3 during its duration. And that also stacks alongside our passive regen for ulti. If we do a light attack or heavy attack, you get, it's technically over an 8 second period, but it does apply on the first second as well, so the 0 counts as 9. But you get 3 ulti a second from that. And we've got stuff in our gear that will also generate ulti very, very quickly, which means we can use our damage ulti or our healing ulti on tap. Don't spam this, but be mindful of the enemies that are coming at you. And if they are firing projectiles, you do want this on. 1, you won't die, and 2, you'll just build ulti like hell. Elemental Susceptibility, Destruction Staff skill line. I have spoken to Zos about this. I know it's a duration and you can spam it anyway. They don't mind at the moment. It's not on top of their priority list, so we can use it. This will apply Burning, Chilled, and Concussion. Again, you've got Chilled chance here and here, but if you do chill inside the Wall of Elements, you guarantee the secondary effect. Well, we can guarantee Chilled. So while we're taking advantage of the constant ticking Chilled, we can also apply them by default as well with this. 3 status effects on cast, then it reapplies every 7.5 seconds. So if you put this on multiple different targets, they've all basically got a ticking time bomb on them. So over 30 seconds, they're constantly going to take that damage. But if you light attack, skill, light attack, skill, light attack, skill, or just hold block and spam the skill, it's free, and you apply all 3 status effects on cast. So yes, this is a free spammable. Now to start with, this is going to be quite nice, but if you do build focused efforts, this can get very, very strong and will outplay any spammable in the game. Now, Northern Storm is absolutely mental. It does ice damage and area of effect over an 8-second period, every 1 second. On activation, you will increase your weapon and spell damage by 50, and then every second following, up to 8, so activation plus 8 seconds is 9 stacks, you will build up weapon and spell damage, and it will last for 5 seconds per tick. So if it was activated and then negated, you'd only have as many as you've stacked up. But if you make the whole skill run through its whole course, then you will get the full stacks of 9 of them, which will increase your weapon and spell damage a crap ton. In fact, 450 weapon and spell damage. It says for 5 seconds, but each stack starts a timer again. So once the skill has run out, your remaining 5 seconds or 4 seconds that are left over will continue, and you'll still have that bonus once it falls off. It's not a long duration, but it's very strong. And it applies major protection to you and other allies as long as they're close. This is a mitigation bonus like Nova, and at the same, well, Nova's main, but you get the idea, same mitigation bonus. And at the same time, it is incredible damage if you're built for it. They changed this because it was a bit redundant versus the Permafrost morph, but now this is absolutely nuts. It still maintained its protection bonus. Now again, while Maim and Protection are both relatively similar, the two do actually stack multiplicatively. So if you are with a Templar as well and they're dropping Nova and you are dropping this, they end up working together. So this is absolutely mad. Now on the back, we've got Blue Betty. This is a magical recovery bonus. Basically, you put this on your bar. It takes a while to get, but it's from the Animal Companion skill line. For being there, it doesn't do anything apart from passives, but if you activate it for free, you will get 4992 magical back over 25 seconds. This will give us Brutality and Sorcery, major, by the way, increasing our weapon and spell damage, and we're putting this there for that reason and others, because we don't want to use weapon pots or spell pots when we can take advantage of tripots and be more beneficial overall. We get the Brutality and Sorcery from this. We also have an active cleanse that will cleanse us from negative effects every 5 seconds. But again, it's free. Maintain it. Every time you activate this, you'll remove a negative effect, or if you leave it running, it will just take dots off of you. This is absolutely nuts. If you have your Shimmering Shield running and it absorbs the damage of the initial hit of a poison injection, but the dot is on you, this will actually cleanse it. It's free. Keep it up all the time. Your magical recovery will be really nice, even if you're blocking on the ice bar. And if you're not on the ice bar, it can then just elevate your recovery when you are either on this bar or just not blocking at all. Do not let that run out. Razor Caltrops is quite important, actually, because you want to make sure you can do as much damage as possible. And individually debuffing loads of targets is quite nice since you have susceptibility here. However, if you've got Caltrops on, which is from the Assault skill line, you can do damage over time every 1 second, which is physical damage. And if your status chance is lucky, you will apply Sunder. Sunder is a status chance from physical, and Sunder was boosted. It now does a crap ton more damage when it applies. It does do damage per target, yes. And it applies Minor Breach. Granted, we've got Minor Breach from Wall of Elements over here, but it makes sure that we have a second application to it so we can maintain it longer, just in case any of them fall off. And at the same time, Sunder applies 100 weapon and spell damage to you each time you activate it. That's not a stackable bonus, but it's a refreshable bonus. So as long as you keep applying Sunder, you will keep up 100 extra weapon and spell damage, and you will consistently do damage to targets over top of what this skill actually does. And more importantly, it's damage over time. Damage over time from Swarm, damage over time from Wall of Elements, damage over time from Arctic Blast, damage over time from Razor Caltrops. If you've seen Nature's Bounty, you know where I'm going with this, but stay with me. Next is Lotus Blossom. Now, technically speaking, our burst heal on the front bar is quite nice, but we don't really have any hots. So we're taking advantage of the green balance skill, Lotus Blossom. This lasts 60 seconds. It gives you Major Prophecy and Savagery. Again, so we don't need potions for that. We've got it covered, increasing our crit chance. But light attacks and heavy attacks will heal us. You will be light attacking. You will be heavy attacking. This will help. Now, if you're in a situation where you've got someone helping you with heals, or you're capable of spamming your healing ulti, and you want to be the responsible tanky one of the two, you can swap this out for an actual taunt. Now, bear in mind, that means that your light and heavies will no longer heal you, but you can swap this out as a flex slot if someone else is covering the heals, or, again, if you can spam this or maintain this, depending on how well you are with your resources. If you do that, go to the Sword and Board skill line, unlock Pierce Armor, you've got control of the enemy. You're tanky with your resistances anyway. You're tanky with your block mitigation for the weapon types. You can control the enemy if you need to. So that's a flex slot just in case you ever need it. Ice Fortress, of course, is very important. This is from the Winter's Embrace skill line. We've deliberately chosen this one because most of the time, if you are in here, you're going to be either solo or duo. And if you're duo, you're going to be quite close together. The activation of this only applies the resistance bonus to between 0 and 8 meters in a radius, obviously, so that's around you, but it does provide major resolve for you and your party. So anyone that is with you, a companion, another player, whatever, as long as they're close enough when you activate it, you will give them a major resistance bonus. and you gain minor protection at the same time for 30 seconds. It's a very long duration for Major Resolve. Most of them are usually around 20 seconds. This can be extended, of course, with buffs and bonuses from the Infinite Archive. You can make this last about 2 minutes, so you activate it once and you're done. But you must not let this fall off. This is your protection bonus. This is your group protection bonus. Make sure you maintain it. You could use the other morph if you wanted, but you wouldn't gain minor protection from it, and it just increases the range. Realistically, if you're in a duo, just make your other team member be aware that if that buff falls off, they need to be close. Communicate. Get them close, apply it, and then carry on doing what you're doing. And finally, before the major ultimate on the back bar, Winter's Revenge. Same skill line here. The other morph of this plants it on the ground under your feet and is scaled off of health. This particular morph is scaled off of highest offensive stats, and this can actually be placed wherever you want, within range, obviously up to 28 meters. This will put down a circle of frost on the ground, doing damage every 1 second, based on your offensive stats. This damage is increased by 30% if you are holding a destruction staff, and on the back bar, we obviously aren't, but on the front bar, we are. So apply it here and swap. And when enemies are hit, they are overcome with bitter cold, reducing their movement speed for 3 seconds. So again, another snare. Damage over time, movement speed reduction. Damage over time, movement speed reduction. Damage over time, movement speed reduction. Damage over time, and stun. Didn't mention that earlier, but that was kind of leading up to now. If that fires for a short period of time, close quarters, it will stun enemies. You have so much control. Also, this has a higher chance to apply chilled status effect, so while on your front bar, you can take advantage of the Destro passives as well, and the trait we're using, and this can almost guarantee chilled in lots of situations. Alongside this, alongside the benefits from this, they all now line up. Finally, your emergency ultimate. 2 choices here. If you are with someone that requires heals, or even if you require heals all the time, you are going to be able to spam Enchanted Forest. Low health targets give you ulti back. Tomfoolery will allow you to spam it. Your ulti regen is absolutely ridiculous, so you'll be able to use it all the time anyway, and it is ridiculously cheap. Big heal on impact, and then heal over time in area of effect. However, if you don't require that for the time being, and you do feel like it's absolutely fine, maybe your other member is bringing loads and loads of heals and you don't need to do that job, well, then you can swap that out for the block ulti. And this is absolutely stupid. What you want to do is pick Spell Wall. This will reflect projectiles as well as your skills absorbing them and giving you ultimate. And you can run around as a DPS, because this is a DPS build with tanky traits on it. You can run around casting your skills, heavy attacking, doing whatever it is you need to do with a block ulti running. In testing, both of these 2 ultimates were used one after the other to see which one was more beneficial. Block ulti is bloody insane all the time, but in some situations, you may want the heal instead. So this flex slot ulti is entirely up to you. Bear in mind, however, if you're with someone that's ultra squishy, and they keep dying all the time, even if you're using your heals, block ulti will allow you to res them while blocking. So it's a hard trade-off, but it's your choice. Now, passives. These are very important because this kind of lines everything up as well. I'm not going to go over these in massive detail again because I do have a class guide on my channel explaining the Warden skills, but I'm going to tell you the ones you need. So, you are going to need this every time you activate an animal companion skill, whether it be this or this, you will heal. Yes, that's free. Yes, it's a spammable heal. This will give you ulti regen for using animal companion abilities, again, alongside our ulti that we already generate. It's absolutely nuts. We've got 1 skill on each bar, so we have a recovery bonus on both sides, and we increase crit damage based on how many of these are on. We don't have a lot of crit chance, but you will benefit from that nonetheless. Green balance, of course, you do want to get all of them, but it depends on what bar you're on as to whether you're going to benefit from them or not for the most part. However, healing yourself or an ally under 40% with a green balance ability, which is your Lotus Blossom or your Enchanted Forest, because they're the ones we're using, you will actually get resources back. So that is quite helpful. Spamming your healing ultimate will fill your bars, but it's the lowest pool that gets filled. So your CC bar. This will increase healing done with green balance ability slotted, so it only applies on your back bar, but if you're there, fair enough, it's a nice passive. And activating a heal on yourself or an ally will give them minor toughness for 20 seconds, increasing their max health by 10%. All you have to do is activate your Betty twice. That heal, any heal, will give you that. But if you give a heal to your group, obviously that will give them the bonus as well. So overall, green balance is quite nice. They're minor bonuses overall, but the big one you do want is, of course, maturation. Winter's Embrace is very important. You have a 200% chance extra on top of what you already have to apply chilled with abilities from this skill line. And we're using a lot of them. In fact, we're using all of them but one. Also, it gives you a resistance bonus here for each one slotted on your bar. Granted, the back bar has less, but then we've filled that with a other bonus from defending. And you can swap these over if you really want, but the front bar is where you're going to be doing most of your damage. So we've taken advantage of the extra resistance there and placed them there on purpose. If you want to swap them around again, it's up to you, but this worked out really, really well. We are also going to have to consider one extra bonus. The Warden deals more damage with chilled status than any other class. It scales off your offensive stats, and the higher, the better. So this does go up. Not only does your chilled do high damage, but it does more because you're a Warden. Reduce the effectiveness of snares. We have massive control. The enemy can't control us very well. And increases your damage done by 2% overall for being a Warden. But on the ice bar, 12%. For holding that ice staff, we get a 12% increase to all the stuff we're doing. Now, Desperate Staff, you want to get every single one of these, of course. They are very, very important. They give you pen bonuses with your Destruction Staff abilities. That only applies to Wall of Elements, Heavies, and Lights, by the way. Not Susceptibility, because Susceptibility doesn't do Destro damage. It does status. We have a damage shield if we heavy attack with the Ice Staff, which is absolutely insane, especially alongside the other damage shields that we can take advantage of. Bear in mind, that's a full damage shield. A lot of the other ones are projectile-based, so you're going to have to be able to track those. While holding an Ice Staff, we also block with our Magicka Bar. That is important. Your Magicka Bar cannot recover while blocking on this bar because you're utilizing that instead of the stand bar. But if you start running very, very low, you can swap to the back bar and block with your stamina instead, while your Magicka Bar can now recover. So you have 2 bars to block with instead of 1 now. So you can utilize that to your advantage. Also, we have a 100% increased chance to apply more status on top of the base. And block mitigation. 36% reduction to the cost of blocking and 20% block mitigation. That is actually the same as the Sword and Board passive. So we've got the same bonus on both bars. Also, when you absorb damage using a Destruction Staff damage shield, you restore Magicka. So the damage shield that comes from the heavy attack from the staff or the Wall of Elements, if you absorb stuff, you will actually get magic back. And you'll get magic back for using a Destro Staff and killing them with it, but that's it's going around in circles. So, armor-wise, we are actually using 1 piece of light. We are using 1 piece of... We're not using 1 piece. We are using 5 pieces of medium, and we're using 1 heavy. So we're using the whole 5-1-1 setup. 1 heavy, 1 light, 5 medium. Get all the passives. Yes, of course, the 1 piece here and the 1 piece here is going to be a small benefit, but they are benefits nonetheless. Get them all. You can read through them in your own time. It'll take too long to go over them all for those that probably already know. For those that don't, just open up this skill tree, you'll see. They're very helpful. Health, resistance, resource gain, penetration, recovery, and crit. And then you've got dodge roll reduction to cost, crit damage, weapon and spell damage, all the good stuff. Stack them all. We are not using any Fighters Guild skills. We're not using any Mages Guild. We are taking advantage of Undaunted. If you see a synergy, take it. You get resources back. Can't be any clearer. I know I could explain this in detail. There's no need. Pick up the bloody synergies. Stop listening to stupid people who tell you you don't need them. Take them. Increases your maximum health, magic, and stamina by 2% for each armor type worn. We are using 3 types. Heavy, light, and medium. 6% bonus across the board. Now, I did skip over the Sword and Board skill line, so we'll just go over this real quick. Every single one of these are relevant to your Sword and Board skill line. This will obviously make your abilities cheaper if you're using them, but above all, it will give you a block cost reduction at the same time as block mitigation and weapon and spell damage to that skill line. You will also have improved bash, and they will be cheaper, and you can increase the amount of block, amount of mitigation while blocking from projectiles. Again, we can absorb projectiles, but you can take less damage on the back bar, and your movement speed penalty has been reduced while blocking because you are quite slow. Race-wise, you choose. I have switched this around multiple times. They all have their pluses and minuses. A Nord was incredibly tanky because of the resistance bonuses and built ulti quite quickly on top of everything we've already got. Base stats are quite nice. Good choice. Breton was also really, really good. Less health, less stamina, but reduction to cost for magic skills, and good resistances. Not too bad. Even a cat was quite good, having the 3 resources and the recovery bonuses for all 3, and the crit damage if you crit. The choice is honestly up to you. But where this shined the most for me, the risk was less resistances, but the gain was more health and stamina as a flat bonus. Not necessarily over top of others, but nice to have the 2 combined. Healing every 4 seconds from your damage, and you're fast. Weapon and spell damage increase, fast movement, reduction to sprint cost, healing for doing damage, health and stamina combined as a stat increase. You can choose any race you like, but the orc was absolutely brilliant. Again, if you are scared of everything and want to be more chunky, go with the Nord if you want. If not, use anything you like. You're not restricted. The choice is yours. Just understand their minor passives and bonuses and work alongside that. You might have to tweak some stats here and there for it, but the orc was great. Alchemy, medicinal use. We're using tripods. They are consumable buffs. If you want to be efficient with your consumable buffs, much like you are with your castable buffs, do not let them run out. If your potion is solid, live, able to be used, pop it. I don't care if your resources are full. It's not for filling your bar when you're out. It's for maintaining your bar all the time. That way you can keep your resources high and they won't dip too low, and you won't have to panic holding heavy attack for 5 minutes trying to gain it back desperately in case you die. You have recovery bonuses with potions. Maintain them. The extra burst you get to fill your bar is just a bonus. It's nice when it happens, but it's not the main purpose of the potion. The main purpose is to maintain your buffs. If you do that, you'll run out less often. If you only ever go down to 0 and then pop your potions, first of all, you are panicking and using it in an emergency. And secondly, you only get about 7k resources back from it anyway, so 2 skills and it's gone. Keep those recovery bonuses up. Now the gear. The bit you've been waiting for. Yes, I'm going to demonstrate this, obviously. Bear in mind, the ice staff is your front bar. Sword and board is the back. We are using... Wrong bar. Wrong button, even. You can already see what this is because of the visuals. We're using rune carvers. This is an ice staff with charged, giving us a 235% increase to status chance. And we have an increased weapon and spell damage glyph. That particular glyph can get very strong if you use the attuned enchantments buff in Infinite Archive. You can actually times that by a lot. But that will constantly fire on its cooldown to give us more damage. The status chance will allow all of our chilled and I had to think about this. Sunder to apply more often, and possibility of hemorrhage from the flies. This particular set has weapon and spell damage, and penetration. And your damage over time effects do an additional 915 that can go higher. Flame damage every 3rd tick. And this scales off of your weapon and spell damage. Now, while on paper, that might look poo, it is not. Every 3rd tick, so you think 1, 2, 3 seconds, here's 1k damage. 1, 2, 3 seconds, here's... Yeah, that only happens if you're using 1 damage over time. If you're using 3 and they all fire once a second and they start overlapping, every single time each one of those ticks, boom, extra damage. So if they're all in sync with each other, 1 second, 1 fire proc. If you have more than that, it can fire even faster. There's no cooldown on this. It's just every 3rd tick of any damage over time that you do. So the faster rate the damage over time, the quicker this fires. Now, I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment so you can see. But we're using an ice staff on the front in charged, and we're using the sword and board on the back in defending and reinforced to take advantage of extra resistances on that bar. You will be blocking with your stamina on this bar. You'll be blocking with your magicka on this bar. This is where you do most of your damage and you want to stay most of the time, but you have block bonuses at the same time. You are tanky DPS. This will increase weapon and spell damage. This will weaken the enemy. So lights or heavies on this bar will make them hit less harder. I know, grammar, right? We're utilizing a Zerb light on the body. So we've got rune carvers on the staff and the sword and boards. That's 2 pieces. We've also got rune carvers on the 2 jewelry pieces here, the ring and the necklace. And a Zerb light is actually 1 ring alongside 4 body pieces. We are deliberately putting rune carver's sash, the belt, on that section there because it is the lowest resistance piece that you can wear, and we can take advantage of a 1-piece bonus for putting it there. If we put this anywhere else, it's fine, but you are going to negatively impact your resistance pool or stat by using another piece and making that light. Light is the lowest resources towards resistances. It's the lowest stat towards your resistances. So you want to make sure that one is the light one if you can help it. If you made it the chest, for example, you'd lose a lot of resistances versus using the medium there instead. Anyway, Azure Blight, 4 pieces on the body, 1 piece on the jewelry. All jewelry is bloodthirsty. All of it is weapon and spell damage. All of it is mag recovery. I know you would argue, why have you got mag recovery when you block them with the magical bar? Well, when you block on the stand bar, the sword and board, this will kick in. This will basically allow you a crit bonus, magical bonus, and stamina bonus. And when you deal any damage over time, you stack Blight Seed on the target. Every single tick gives you another stack up to 20. And when it gets to 20, it goes bang. Every single target that is within that space will take more and more damage. The more enemies close together, the bigger the boom, up to 180%. So 30% per target. It cannot crit, but it can do a lot of damage, and it applies disease damage, which can apply a disease status effect. Disease status effect has been changed. It does a lot of damage up front, 88% more than it used to. The initial hit also guarantees minor defile, and also guarantees a secondary pop of disease damage and area of effect. So this explosion can apply disease status on every single target, and each one of those can pop by themselves. This is a double boom now if your status is on point. All of the damage over time stacking up will make that fire faster. But anyway, the damage over time we're applying quickly allows this to fire. The damage over time we're firing quickly allows this to fire. Bear in mind, this is fire damage, so it can apply burning as well. And this set here, any status effect that we apply gives us a stack, up to a maximum of 3. Once you get to 3 stacks, you get 4 ultimate. And that can happen every 1 second, and that will happen every 1 second. You are going to apply so much status effect that you are constantly building ulti outside of your regular ulti regeneration. So, dots down, buffs up, everything goes boom, all the fire fires, all the chilled fires, all of these go off, disease happens, hemorrhage happens, the lot. And this is how it will basically function. So what we'll do is we'll get one target over here on his own. And we will put a single target, not a single target, an area of effect damage over time on. You can see there, the ticks are going up gradually. There's fire happening once every 3 seconds. And Azure Blight, the one on the top right-hand side, is ticking up to 20. When it gets to 20, it will go boom. You just saw that the burn and status effect fire there, which was lucky from Rune Carvers. And the boom happened. That's 1 dot and 1 target. As you can see again, 1, 2, 3, fire. 1, 2, 3, fire again. You get the idea. Now, this group here, same applies. 1 stack each. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And when it gets to 20, they will, of course, explode and all hit each other. And there could be disease status effects coming from that. Now I'm going to pop 3, 2, 1. And they all pop 0.5 seconds apart from each other, as long as I maintain damage over time. Lots of disease, etc., etc. Now, instead of using 1 damage over time, let's stack them all. It's firing fire on targets every 1 second and faster. And the booms are constantly going off. Also, while we're here, look at my ultimate regen. I've just popped Northern Storm. Now I'm going to just keep the dots up. And this is without really putting any major buffs on or anything. Without infinite archive buffs and bonuses. I'm almost at 100 ulti already, just from firing off 1 round of dots. That can get incredibly dramatic. Now, all of those things stack up together. They all work together like a jigsaw puzzle finally coming together. But if you take advantage of buffs and bonuses in the Infinite Archive, you can make that completely ridiculous. Absolutely insane. And that doesn't just rely on focused efforts. So here's what I'd recommend you go for. Yes, of course you want focused efforts as much as possible. We've got a lot of status. But even for applying status without it, we're still making stuff blow up. So obviously, first and foremost, you want to go for that. So you want to get the 3 transformation type buffs and bonuses from support and strikes if you can. If you can get all 3, great, but you want to go for support and strikes above all. When it comes to crit chance and crit damage, you do want to grab that stuff. You've got several different bonuses for magical crit, physical crit, magical crit damage, and physical crit damage. If you see them, get them. Outside of that, build for defense. Simple as that. If you can be tankier, you can inevitably blow up the room. Your damage will scale. It's going to get stupid, but focused efforts is a game changer, and you will walk into rooms and wonder why you haven't got enough time to actually apply your skills because they're already dead. One more thing to note, while this stuff is running, you've got this free spammable. Really not that hard to do. So, shield up, dots down, keep stuff in your space, and spam your free spammable. It's really simple. Now we're going to go into champion points. Champion points are quite important, but you can flip them around if you want. The blue stuff, we're looking at Wrathful Strikes to boost all of the damage stuff we do. We are utilizing none of the actual slottables here, but you do want to get all the passives because they are important towards your status stuff. Now, I'm going to go over that again in a moment. Deadly Aim for single target stuff. Chilled, Burning, Concussion, Hemorrhage, Sunder, Disease. They're all single target apart from the Splash from Disease. So that will help. Yes, we're doing area of effect stuff, but most of the big hits are actually per target, except for the explosions. Granted, the ground stuff is all area of effect damage over time, but we can push that with damage over time bonuses here. And that will double stack on any statuses that are damage over time. So these ones were quite nice, but they were pushing certain areas that weren't going to scale dramatically in the future, whereas this stuff actually does. Now, we've got one more bonus down here to our survival, which is Ironclad. I wouldn't recommend changing this because you are quite tanky and it does support that. But if you do want to swap any of these ones out, if you are in the room with the most recent Infinite Archive Lazy Sork, you are going to want to take Exploiter. So I would take the damage over time or this off. It's entirely up to you which one, because both of them are going to kind of tip the scales one way or the other. But in fact, probably take off Thaumaturge because chilled is direct, so that is going to be more beneficial. It's a single target one. It doesn't do damage over time. So we'll recap on that. Lose Thaumaturge. If you've got the Lazy Sork for Infinite Archive in the room, take Exploiter. That build is going to guarantee full control of off balance, and you will devastate the room. If it's not there, though, you don't need it. Keep these on. Red Tree's quite simple. Health, armor. Get these passives as and when you can. And then you want Bloody Renewal and Siphon Spells. Getting a kill will give you both bars of resources back. You're utilizing them both for damage and for survival. So you want these. Get the kills, keep the resources up, easy peasy. Green stuff doesn't make a shit's bit of difference. This will make you faster between fights, which is handy in the secrets, but the rest of it is quality of life. It's your choice. I would recommend Treasure Hunter for more loot, so high quality loot from chests. I would recommend this to make your food last longer, and this so that when you pop potions like it's going out of fashion, sometimes you won't even use one, but it'll still count. That is pretty much it. This for projectiles. Keep your shield up. Wall of Elements for a projectile shield for you and your group, and debuffs inside of it. This for your big heal and stun. And of course, keep your dots up on the ground underneath your feet. You have to move them, but don't spam, and take advantage of your heavy attacks when you need to. Now, above all, resistance buff. Blue Betty and your light attack and heavy attack heal. Maintain those 3 buffs. That's your most important thing to know. You have to maintain those 3. The rest of the time, when it's squishy ads, you're probably going to put caltrops down, wall down, and run in with your wind. Everything's going to get stunned and die. You're going to forget to put that skill on. You're going to forget to do this. And you're going to forget to put on your shield. And your ulti spam, and it's going to kill everything anyway. You don't really have to try. But if you can get used to the build and start micromanaging on how things work while maintaining your buffs, you will dominate. It is absolutely insane. Fashion, of course, we are utilizing the Highborn Galleon Helmet, the Gardener of Seasons Jack. Yes, that's the Warden motif from the Infinite Archive. So there's your reward for playing it. You actually utilize one of the things and show it off. Ascendant Knight pauldrons, Ascendant Knight gauntlets, Ascendant Knight belt, Ascendant Knight greaves, and Ascendant Knight sabatons. You guessed it, it's Ascendant Knight all the way through, apart from basically the chest and the helmet. Now, the staff is default. That's the way it comes. And the sword and board are Deadlands Gladiator, both sword and shield. That one doesn't need a motif at all. It's already the same. Now, color-wise, we've pretty much gone grey or black on most of these, but some of them don't even have any changes because they are quite cool as they look. So it's really basic as far as the setup is concerned. He looks cool as fuck, but you don't really have to put a lot of work in apart from getting that motif. So, take it for a test drive. Tell me what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Did you get loads of focused efforts? Tell me how many you got in the comment section below. My RNGesus sucks. I want to know that other people have a better chance than me. If you're not subscribing, obviously hit that button. It's free. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.